Hi, this is Eric Hernandez of the Rabblecast, and we have a very special treat, Smith Hart, here at the Legends of the Ring convention. This is unexpected for me. I have to say that, first off, I respect the Hart family very much, and just be able to sit down with you is amazing. So,
I appreciate that, and it's nice to be here on the Rabblecast, and you can. Too bad people couldn't call in. I always get a lot of phone calls, but please feel free to ask me anything you like.
Sure. Are you enjoying so far your time here at the convention?
It's been a fantastic day today, and even last night I saw some great matches, very good matches and good talent, and a lot of old names that I hadn't seen for years, like Muda and Ox Baker, to name a couple. And it's been a very good time for me today here. I ran into more guys than I normally do.
I'm just like a little flabbergasted as far as trying to ask you questions. I just saw you right now with the Nasty Boys with Bill Lapter over there. That was kind of an interesting scene in and of itself. But I mean, is there? I'm trying to collect my thoughts here. Anything recent that you've done with some of the shows that you've gone out and helped out with? Then.
I wish I could recall something kind of funny, like what Owen was so good at provoking. Owen would make mischief out of almost anything. But nothing comes to mind. But I had a beautiful drive down here, and I was born in Long Beach, Long Island, New York. So it's always nice to kind of come back close to my roots. And it was a beautiful scenic drive down with some nice friends from Ontario. So that's all kind of good, even though it's not particularly exciting. I'm looking forward to promoting some big shows in Ontario, and there might be a big one coming up it will be on the 18th of August in conjunction with the Carrot Cup, and I think it's going to become the Memorial Cup for Owen Hart tag team tournament from now on. And there's a lot of big names coming in as well as the tag team tournament, and it's a two event thing in the same day in the morning. It's free, and in the afternoon in Bradford, it's a nominal fee to get in. But they're going to see Harry Smith, the Bulldog's son, and maybe Colt Cabana. I haven't finished. He's going to let me know if he's available. But a lot of good talent coming in for that. Exceptional talent. Jason Rigo from the Bachelorette. He's an avid wrestler, and he didn't have that much experience when he got famous doing the Bachelorette audition, and so. Now he's picked up a little more wrestling, and he's working out, and he's a little more aggressive. But he brings a lot of girls down. They just show up for him, and he'll be there. So I'm going to have a really great, and it's going to be on pay-per-view. That's sort of the big exciting thing.
Okay.
So, but anyway, I appreciate you asking me that. And if I think of something a little more humorous, I'll certainly try and include it.
Well. A lot of things that people talk about as far as the older school of wrestling, when it comes down to, they talk about the ribs, the different jokes, the pranks that are pulled on one another, and it's all out of love, right?
Yeah, it is. It's all out of brotherhood and love. Yeah, it's like teaching somebody a lesson. Like my brother Dean, he died, but Dean was fairly Dean was kind of a little outlaw, you might say, and he didn't hesitate. He had a lot of balls. He'd burn anybody. He'd burn a lawyer. He'd burn a judge. He'd burn his own father, and get away with it. He was so charming and good looking, and he was the runt of the litter, but the toughest of all of us, pound for pound. But what was I going to say here? I lost my train of thought. Dean, why would I be talking about Dean?
Oh, the different ribs. And
the ribs, yeah. Well, Dean, I was thinking of Mabel parties. That was to teach a guy a lesson. Wrestlers usually don't very much, and if they do, they usually get reprimanded by the rest of the flock. But they usually don't pick on some poor weakling. Like some school kids will pick on some foreign kid or some weakling or different lame duck kid. But in the Mabel party, it's usually it's some gigolo who's got a wife and kids here, and some other bastard kids somewhere else, and they're both phoning into the promotion saying, can't you pay him more? He's not sending any money home. Meanwhile, he's bringing 2 prostitutes every night to every town and walking out with them, and buying. I remember one guy was like that, kind of trying to keep up with Sweet Daddy Siki, and not that Sweet Daddy was doing anything, unamorous, but this guy would imitate him in lots of ways in clothing and dress and all that. But anyway, that would be the guy you'd select for the Mabel Party, and Dave Rule, the booker, the seasoned old booker, would be telling anybody but this victim that they're this butt of the joke about Mabel, and she's a nymphomaniac, and the husband's rich but he's impotent and he's always away and she's lonely and all this. This guy would start to get in on, and David kind of brush him off, and he'd be dying to hear about this girl that's so talented and available or whatever. So then Dave would put him in the rides, where he's now in the car with Dave and the guys that are kind of promoting this thing, and finally he's in on it, and then he gets, Dave's like being a little nicer to him, and hey, Dave, she's coming into town, I heard. Dave, yeah, well, since she's bringing her sister too, and it gets even better. So finally it's Dave and this guy are going to go on all, everything goes orgy weekend with Mabel and her sister, who's even younger and tighter than Mabel, hornier. So anyway, when the time comes, the wrestlers are all inside. Here comes the victim carrying about 8 cases of beer, and Dave's carrying enough scuba saw to feed a horde of wrestlers for a weekend. All of a sudden the house is dark, and all of a sudden the door is kicked open. There's Dave Rule's brother, who was a caretaker for a lot of places, always had keys and buildings we could do this in. And he kicks open the door. He's got the loaded double-barrel shotgun, and boom, and Dave falls and blood all over the place. He's like, run! The Great Antonio was one that they pulled it on, and the guy, the pimp or the gigolo or the blimp or whatever, he's running for life, going through fences, ripping, By the time Antonio hit the police station about 10 miles away, this was out by the airport where they did it, he was like exhausted. The shoulders on his big over padded coat are hanging to his elbows, his hat's right over his beard, right over his mouth. His coat, big size 20 cowboy boots are all curled up because they didn't fit him anyway. Everything was over exaggerated on him. He was almost dead. He gasped and fell over the police desk. And when they revived him, he's telling Dave Rule's dead, in broken English, spoken Yugoslavic, French, whatever the hell he spoke. So, and he stunk, I heard, but that was on a normal day anyway. But this was like accelerated the winter sweat, from a good brisk run when you're like 400 pounds of dedicated neglect. So, the police went out there and told him to stay in the car, and then there's all the wrestlers drinking and laughing, and the cops came in, and they were good about it, those cops. Some of the ones were a little, saying they could be charged, and let's wrap it up while we watch kind of thing, but usually the victim's nowhere around. He's run for, he's run to his confessor, or he's run to my dad's house or somewhere. But, when wrestlers joke around and rib and all that, it's done in humor. It should never affect anybody's health or their family or their finances. Yeah,
just good old fun.
Yeah, and certain guys sort of are open for it and deserve it, and it's sort of a natural gravitation towards doing it to this guy. He's a jack-off and deserves a little.
I have to ask this question because it's a story that I heard a long time ago. And it involves Harley Race and Owen Hart. The story as I heard it, and I'm going to try to recount it for you as best I can. There was a get-together at Harley's place, and apparently Owen decided to mess with Harley's his sauce, which is something you never do. Made a lot of people sick, made a lot of people having to run to the bathroom, whatever the case. Harley found out eventually who did it, and he ended up going to one of the shows when they were back in town. And he went from locker room to locker room, saying hi to everybody, saying, usual greetings. And then he was looking for Owen Hart, but didn't let everybody know, like, if you see him, just don't say anything. Eventually, he found the room that Owen was in. Owen was getting changed for that night. Harley walks up behind him with a cattle prod, jams it up his rear, and lets him have it.
I didn't ever hear it to that extent, and I don't know if it... Harley might have, I don't know that anybody would live to do that to Owen Hart. He, I don't, as far, it sounds like he shoe-flied everybody, or X-laxed everybody, at least in the big family pack of laxatives. That's what it was. It wasn't, I had heard the same story because I didn't witness it and didn't know a lot about it, and I can't really speak too enlightenedly, but I could see it'd be his style, maybe to spice it up a notch, you know. But he wouldn't want kids drinking, you know, tasting it, or some old grandmother having a heart attack from shock or something. But
no, it's fair. Yes.
if it was just for Harley, I'm sure Owen wouldn't have hesitated to put as much smoke and, you know, as much pepper, whatever you could put in there. He'd have a bear mace in it or something. But you know, I don't think it's not becoming of Harley to cattle broth. It may be a little bit of a, you know, I guess you can turn those up and down. I don't know.
Maybe.
Harley is a good guy, and I know we loved him dearly, and I'm sure he loves us. So, you know, I can't see Harley wanting to do anything too. I gave a guy a cattle prod. I didn't even know what it was really, but he was sweating a bit, and he was fairly, he was like, he'd make Seamus look dark, this guy. He was as white as that door. He was white as your camera stand. Like, he was chalk white and blue veins, and he actually thought, and he was an albino on top of that. So, but I gave him a zap, and he threatened me with, you know, he says he said, I'll bar you right now. I'm calling the police. I said, go ahead. There's 2 phones right there, and there's lots upstairs. But anyway, I didn't want to hurt the guy. He screamed, and, you know. So I've heard of somebody gave a calf a cattle jolt, and it kicked in a 2x6 in a chute. But I went to the pavilion one time where we held the wrestling, and there was somebody being carted out on a stretcher, and I said to one of the ushers, I said, those bulls can really kick, and they said, well, that wasn't a bull, that was a calf. And I said, well, they got a lot of power in their back legs. They said it was the front leg. I said, shit. He said, that's nothing. There was a girl that was carried out an hour ago, and she was bleeding from head to toe, and she got kicked by the front leg of a calf, too, and it just kicked her about 6 times. It knocked her out, and, you know, stepped on her and stuff. So, you know, there's a lot of power in animals. You gotta kind of respect that and, you know, beware.
Okay. Smith, I don't want to take up too much of your time. Thank you, sir.
Sorry for rambling, but it's good.
No, it's
good to meet you, and you know, I appreciate the time.
Thank you very much, sir.
My pleasure.